platform in the internet that help news spread faster and reach a lot of people easily. Social media could be accessed from laptop and phones, from apps like Instagram, TikTok, and X, and others. Media social as the primary source of news distribution would mean that people would look at the internet for latest news instead of conventional news like television, radio, magazine, or newspaper. Let me introduce you about our team. My name is Ayesha Rihadatul Queen Kapadia as the Prime Minister, my friend Zepania as the Deputy Prime Minister, and Shahla as our whip or third speaker will review and strengthen all of our arguments about. Now, let's see why we as the government team absolutely agree with the motion that the House regrets the rise of social media as the primary source of news distribution. Hoax are easily spread in the social media a lot more easier than conventional news. This is why, if we have social media as the main source of news, a lot of people would easily get tricked and fall to false information. How could we trust social media news on bigger issues like politics, health, and crime investigation? How we could trust social media to deliver those, to give us, to inform us about those news?
May I please?
Okay, please. Okay, you may.
What can you say about news being manipulated by the government? How will that differ from being taken aback from hoax online? Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to answer that later, so let me deliver my argument first. Like politics, health, or crime investigations, if there's still a lot of hoax about something as mundane as celebrity or entertainment, and a lot of people still fall for it. So we couldn't still yet to trust social media as the primary source of information of news on especially on bigger issues, because hoax can easily be spread in that platform. Why should we trust conventional news source like television, radio, or newspaper more instead of social media? Why we should trust them more on bigger issues, especially? This is the reason why we as the government team still agree with the motion. Conventional news companies, especially the big and famous ones, professional team to sort out the topics of the news, to check about the validation for the facts, because to be the part of the team in the company, to be the part of the staff and there to work there, they need a professional degree, they need have to a professional self to be work there. So their opinion are more trusted than in only social media. In social media, everyone could upload news. We don't even know who is behind them. We didn't know the legit source, where do they come from. So the news that come from the company, like in the televisions, on newspaper, on radio, is more legit and 100% can be more trusted than social media, where everyone can upload news on social media without even checking on the facts. And since there's a lot of people use social media now, they could get easily tricked without checking the news, checking the validation first, checking the facts first. Okay, then second, yeah, we could easily get manipulated by the news. There's a lot of manipulation that both we and other parties commit on social media, but none is more severe than the emotional manipulation that we could have from receiving false news. Media and online always know that people respond to controversial headlines because it'll definitely attract attention. Social media has helped them more by making clickbaits into the mainstream, like making a huge controversial title so people would click them without even checking if it is true or not. Just their main problem is to make more views, more people to be rage bait. Whenever we're exposed to stimuli, our brain registers a number of possible responses that we can do, but some responses have bigger advantage to be displayed. After all, we are still biological beings with instincts and reflexes encoded in our DNA. So that will lead the way we respond to environment. Social media often show cases of extreme, like in the news, example like triggering pictures, triggering headlines and right violation, and the reaction of most people will jumble it up into ones like anger, disgust, or sadness. It's like most people react into social media news. Most of them be suddenly become angry without even know that if the news are real or not. Because in social media, the importance is to make clickbait, to make people believe their headline, if because they're being overreactive, disables from looking at issues from a different lens. So we are more jumbled up the emotions. So our brain didn't think straightly to access the information, and that's fake news and fear mongering easily thrive from this because we've become so reactionary. It's so easy to believe in things that confirm our worldview, and that's where our brain couldn't even think of what's wrong or what's right, and we didn't want to look up more to it because brain is already triggered with the hoax. Social media also could easily manipulate people to believe the fake news, so they will spread much more easier. And as for the POI before, the question is, how about the government could manipulate the conventional news? Okay, in this case, there's a lot of cases where government manipulate the news, but then I didn't say that social media is 100% is wrong. They're still helpful, but being the main primary media for news is the one we absolutely disagree with. Social media could help by telling people that a lot of information the government could manipulate. But and now in this generation, people are getting more wide-eyed and not helping from social media, not just getting information a lot from social media, but from television and conventionals also, so they can mix it up. But making the social media as the primary source of news is the one we disagree with. Thank you.
On the internet that we see on a compass.com, etc., or even in a vocative that you can find on Instagram, USS feed. Well, here's the case. If we just consume a news without even concern about how do they get the actual part, are they do the research, or why did they even publish that news? Well, majorly in Indonesia, people easily pursued by news that come on their timeline, especially on Facebook, Instagram, or another social media. So here's the fact: Indonesia has a lowest rank literation. And now imagine if there is a people who use social media as only source to looking about the news that had happened in our country and our world, what had happened with the country, or what happened with the FNB, or etc. Well, that people is lack of an awareness of the literation. And then the people that read that news, it doesn't even concern about how is that distribution. Are they do the research? Are they do the professional labor in the news anchor, or like are they hired a professional journalist, professional reporter, or something? And then that person, if didn't aware about the literation, the person that just read the news, that use a prime source as a social media, it will lead that person into a misleading, and then that person will tell everyone, hey, did you know that, etc. Well, without doing a research, this will lead to misleading. So I'm gonna tell you the impact that will happen in Indonesia if we just consume a news without even concern how do they get the research. Are this news is have an impact to us? There is a real case in 2027. This impact of consuming a news that based on prime search in social media is that cause bad brand image for some industrial. Well, yeah, as I said before, in 2027 there is a FNB industrial, food and beverage industrial, known like to product a bottle of tea called teh jegar. Well, the news has been spread in a negative way because the news says that there is a thumb of a human that inside that tea. With that news, there is no research about it, and then people in Indonesia, because the lack of literation, they just believe it, and then they spread the news all around in Indonesia, and then that thing will let the distribution of teh jegar go bankrupt, and then of course if there is an industry go bankrupt, and then they will fire the staff. And I still believe that we regret the rise of social media as a primary source. We talk about the news that use social media as a primary source. We're not talk about how the news is being published, whether it is on TV or on social media. We're talk about the source. No thanks.
Okay.
It can decrease people who works in news labor. For an example, if we only depends on a news that use a prime source used by social media, of course, that news distributions didn't hire a professional reporter, journalist, etc., and they just hold on social media as their resources. So how we should to believe that news to be true? How we should that is that news if even true? Is that news is not hoax or something? Because people nowadays often wants to read a news that had a short headline. Of course, that fact will lead up people into the misleading. Well, I'm still a regret of using social media as prime sources. So my team have real solutions to fix this problem that we face in our era. First, we cannot just consume rawly, even if we read the social media from the accreditable one, as the first speaker of the opposition said, like BBC. But still, we need to make sure that news is real. That news is makes sense. They have the data. They have the scientific reason of that problem that been published. And then we cannot just news rawly, and then we need to think clearly about how does that even happen, how does that even been published. So here I still strongly say that here we are not talk about where the news is being published, but we talk about is the news use the only prime source social media, or they do the research so that we can safely consume the news that been published. The opposition team still say that you can also reading news from BBC or Pop Indonesia, but the problem is that we are here regretting the use of social media as their prime sources. We are not debating about how do you post that on TV. And then the first speaker of the opposition team said that even old people can access news on the phone. But first of all, let me tell you a fact that in Indonesia, there's not only Kota Cirebon, Kota Bandung, or even some city that known so fancy. There's still a Banjarsari, and then there's still like a hometown that lack the ability of the old people of having an access in using an internet, and they still use TV for their only one information that they will get nowadays. So I think that is enough from me. Thank you.